Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly Live. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, today is Wednesday, and it's the first day that the team comes back together as a group and practices, puts in the install for the upcoming game. And it's the first time that you're exposed to the quarterback, offensive coordinator. They talk to the media. And so you put a bow on last week's performance and start to look forward to next week's performance. That's exactly what we're going to do on tonight's program. We'll talk about a number of different topics. Dwayne stepped to the podium. Scott Turner stepped to the podium. Ron Rivera stepped to the podium. Had a chance to listen to all three of those interviews or press conferences, rather. We'll talk about those in other news a little bit later on in the show. Also, first injury report of the week. So we'll take a look at that, who practiced, who did not, and what are the ailments that could potentially keep these guys sidelined in week number 3. Also, we will take our first look at the Cleveland Browns. This is a dangerous football team despite them being 1-1 on the season. They just won their first game. They're feeling very confident. And after watching us in week 2, they're probably not very afraid of what we can do in week number 3. So we'll take our first look at the Browns. But before we can do that, I think we need to put a nice tidy bow on week number 3. And I had a chance to finish up the offensive film. I've gotten through all of the first half of the defensive film and half of the second half. And I can tell you right now, without even seeing the rest of the remainder of the game, because I kind of know what's going to take place. I've watched the game multiple times already. I realized where the game changed. And initially I thought that the game changed when the offense fumbled away the opportunity to put points on the scoreboard when Landon Collins got the interception, and then the defense had to come right back on the field. But after watching the defensive film, because they're going to keep us in games, I've stressed this in the offseason, that the offense was going to start slow and that the defense was going to be the catalyst if we were going to be in ball games and exceed the win total that I had set out there, which was 6 to 7 wins this season. The defense was going to have to be the ones carrying us throughout, especially early in the season until the offense catches up. And the defense they were poised to do that in this game. When I watched this game, Arizona had a nice opening drive. The defense had opportunities to get off the field. They failed to do so. They had a chance on 3rd and goal, and Landon Collins dropped the ball. All of that is in the film breakdown. Again, if you're not on Patreon, get on Patreon so you can see this stuff up close and personal and see exactly what's going on. But they were fine after that first drive. As a matter of fact, they go down. The offense stalls out after getting a first down, and they punt the football. Great special teams play by Cam Sims to pin them inside their own 10-yard line. The defense takes over from there. They harass Kyler Murray, force him into an interception. Washington takes over. They turn it over 5 plays later, but the defense comes back on the field, sacks Kyler Murray. All right, now it's 2nd and long, and they get out of there, and they force a punt. Steven Sims then fumbles the football. That's where the game changed. I didn't realize it initially. I just thought, oh my God, we had an opportunity offensively, we blew it. No, the defense was still game after that fumble by Dwayne Haskins. The defense was still rocking and rolling. They were still hyped. They were ready to go. And then Steven Sims fumbled that punt. And then they came back on the field and they weren't the same group. And it was like, well, goddamn, we got the offense great field position by forcing a turnover. They go sudden change of possession and turn it back over. We come back on the field. We stone these guys again. We get the offense great field position again. And special teams gives it away this time. What the hell do you want more from us? And at that point, they buckled. They folded. And they didn't get another stop the remainder of the first half. The rest of the first half went touchdown, field goal, field goal. And that's how you got to 20-0 at half. So that was the straw that broke the camel's back was that fumble by Steven Sims. The defense was flying around early in this ball game. And then the fumble by Steven Sims was their third consecutive possession on the field, really without a break. I mean, if you think about it, they're on the field, they force the interception, they're hyped. 5 plays later, they're back on the field due to a fumble. They get off the field 3 and out, and boom, another fumble. Now they're back on the field again, and they just couldn't weather the storm after that. So they've got to be better. Offense, look, and this is something that I stressed going into the game. After week 1, I was excited, but I said, the reason we won the football game is because we didn't turn it over. We didn't make the mistakes. We let the Eagles make all the mistakes. We didn't make any. And where we are right now as a team, we can't afford any mistakes. You make mistakes, you're begging to lose the football game. So the defense can afford a mistake or two. They can give up a big play or two. They're big boys. They can figure it out on the defensive side of the football. The offense and special teams cannot contribute in that regard. They cannot have mistakes and turnovers and force short fields to be defended by this defense. They do enough already as it is. They've got to hold up their end of the bargain. And at minimum, bare minimum, they've got to at least be able to take care of the football, both special teams and the offense. If they punt the football and the defense has to defend 70 yards of grass, so be it. What they can't afford to do is leave the defense high and dry and have them defending 40 yards of grass because Steven Sims wants to fumble a punt return. Because the offense turned it over, but they left 90 yards of real estate for the defense to defend. And you know what the defense said? Hey, we got this. Don't worry about it. You're good. We got you. It's when Steven Sims said, hey, how about 40 yards of real estate? My bad. Can y'all defend 40? They was like, nah, man. God damn it. This is the 3rd straight time we've been on the field. When we going to get some Gatorade? So that was the turning point of the game. But all in all, I actually thought the defense wasn't that bad. And I've stressed that already. You know, I'd like to see them get off the field on 3rd downs. One of the biggest issues in this game was the inability, and I think the real problem was on 2nd down in this game. Because 2nd down set up 3rd and short in this game. Too often for the Arizona Cardinals. And if they could have found a way, the Cardinals had some penalties in this game. They shot themselves in the foot. We had opportunities to keep the Cardinals in some 3rd and long situations. And on 2nd down, we'd give up 12. On 2nd and 19, we'd give up 12. On 2nd and 10, we'd give up 8. And then all of a sudden, it's 3rd and 2. On 2nd and 12, we'd give up 8. Now it's 3rd and 4. And they convert. And that was the problem. Was 2nd down was killing us in this game. We would allow too much yardage to be gained on 2nd down to set up 3rd and short. And we just could not get off the field in 3rd and short situations. So that was another problem in this game. And then obviously the legs of Kyler Murray, they were an issue. They were an issue early. They were an issue often. And we didn't have an answer. We did not have an answer. It started on the first possession with a read option that Montez Sweat bit down on, hook, line, and sinker, and it just kind of progressed from there. So all in all, when you go back and watch, you know, in the moment, it seemed a lot worse. I mean, I sat on my couch, and I told you, I'm a pacer. I watch the game standing up. I don't sit down generally when we're on the tube. I'm too nervous to sit down. I sat down by the time we got to the midpoint of the 2nd quarter. I felt defeated. I felt like, here we go again. This is some bullshit. This sucks, is what this does. You know, because I saw the fight leaving the defense. You know, and I knew the offense wasn't game enough to turn this into a shootout. They're not there yet. You know, in order for us to have a shot, the defense has to perform at a very high level. And usually, if you're not producing stops and limiting the amount of points that the opposition is scoring, you better be producing some turnovers, which is what they did against Philadelphia. Remember, we were down 17-0. It's not like we hadn't been there before, all right? We just were producing turnovers to set the offense up in week 1. We didn't do the same thing. We did it once. and the offense didn't take advantage of it, and that hurt. But the fumble by Sims, I thought, hurt a little bit more. So, watching the game initially live, I felt like, man, that was a horrible performance. Going back and watching, and having real, true perspective, it wasn't that bad. And the score actually indicates that it wasn't that bad, even though watching a game 30-15 probably doesn't do the game any justice. When you watch the film, you feel like you're a few plays away from really making this a competitive ball game. I mean, seriously. So, hopefully they'll be able to take some of the things that they did well in this game, transfer those over to week 3, continue to build. That's what I'm looking for. A continuation of what was learned in week 1 carries over into week 2. Week 2 carries over into week 3. And you just continue to build on all of the lessons learned throughout the weeks of this season and get better. That was my rallying cry for the offseason. I just want to see a team that gets better, that competes. They competed in this game. Even though Ron shut the switch off at the end, and I didn't appreciate that, they competed in this game. And then I said, I want to see this team get better. I'm seeing a team that's getting better. I saw players get better. I saw guys balling in this game. Kevin Pierre-Louis, I told you this at least 3 or 4 times already, was a standout in this football game. All right, Antonio Gibson was a standout in this game. Terry McLaurin was a standout in this game. And so there were guys that stepped up. J.D. McKissick, in his limited opportunities, was a standout in this game. So there were guys that did stand out. And so there were some good takeaways. But now you flush this one, you move on, and you see what's available. Who's going to be available, rather, for the upcoming game. Because the injury, remember we talked about this last week. Man, this injury report looks pretty light. That's not the case this week as we progress to in other news. So before we even get to what was said by Coach Rivera and Scott Turner and Dwayne Haskins, let's check the injury report for Wednesday's practice. And so I had mentioned this to you guys last week or right after the game. I told you immediately after the game during overtime, I said, Steven Sims will show up on the injury report this week. I guarantee it. And I said I would not be shocked if he didn't practice a couple of days. And I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't play. Okay? He left the game. His adrenaline was flowing. He was able to come back. Once the blood settles and swelling starts to set in, things change drastically. If you're an athlete, you know all about it. Okay? You can sprain your ankle. You can come back and play, and then you sit down, your blood settles, the swelling takes effect, and the next day, you can barely move your ankle, okay? If you've ever jammed your finger or if you've ever jammed your toe, you know, the adrenaline's flowing, you're able to go back out there and play. The minute you sit down and the blood settles and the swelling starts to take effect, you're screwed, okay? So Steven Sims is on the injury report along with a number of guys. Let's take a look. Did not practice Ryan Kerrigan with the toe. Thomas Davis Sr. had an illness. He did not practice. Sadiq Charles has a leg injury. I'm assuming the same leg injury that he had throughout the training camp and early into the season. Did not practice. Cole Holcomb with a knee did not practice. Steven Sims with his toe. I thought it was like a ankle or something. It turns out it's his toe. That might be even worse, depending on the severity of the toe injury. If it's a turf toe injury, we could not see Steven Sims for 3-4 weeks. I mean, it obviously, if they felt that way about it, they just put him on IR. So I'm hoping that Steven Sims can practice in some capacity tomorrow. I wouldn't bank on it though. Ryan Anderson, a leg injury, was a no-show as well. Limited Morgan Moses with a hip injury. So I don't worry about Morgan Moses. He's an Iron Man when it comes to this football team. You'd have to have him break something to not play. So I don't worry about Morgan Moses, but that's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys on the injury report, when the first 2 weeks, all we had was 3 guys on the injury report. So none of these look to be serious. That's the good thing. Outside of Sheriff, who's not on the injury report, but we know is on IR and will at least miss the next 3 games. All of these seem like injuries that these guys can come back from relatively soon. Hopefully we don't need Sadiq Charles right now and he continues to mend. Thomas Davis Sr., I'd like to see him get healthy, and give us a little bit more depth at linebacker because Cole Holcomb and his knee probably won't be ready to go this week. He didn't practice at all last week. He's not practicing on Wednesday. I wouldn't hold my breath on Cole Holcomb this week either. So it'd be nice to get a little bit more depth at backer with Thomas Davis Sr. coming back into the mix. Ryan Anderson, you just want that depth along the defensive line. Steven Sims is massive. Of all these injuries that we're looking at here, take Morgan Moses out of the equation because I expect him to play. Of all these injuries, the one that scares me the most is Steven Sims because he does so much for this football team. He's your punt returner. He's your kick returner. And I know some of you don't really care to hear about that right now because of his performance in week 2, handling the kickoff and punt return duties. But to me, he's the best we have. And he handles a lot of things there on the special team side of things. But also, he's the second best wide receiver we've got. I mean, let's face it. None of the other guys are ready to assume a bigger role on the offensive side of the football. We can't even trust Cam Sims to execute a natural pick without picking up a penalty. So I'm nervous about putting anybody else in the game other than Steven Sims right now in the slot. So that's the one that, of all these injuries, that's the one that makes me most nervous. Hopefully Steven Sims is able to go this weekend versus the Cleveland Browns. So let's get to in other news and start talking about what was said at the podium today. And we start with Coach Rivera. The first thing that resonated with me about his statements was Troy Apke wasn't bad this week. And I've watched the film, and I continue to tell you guys, just like you thought the offensive line was tragically bad, and I said, look, the offensive line wasn't terrible. I mean, you guys want to make it out to be this whole woe is me, our offensive line is the worst in the league, oh my God, Dwayne doesn't have any time. That's not true. That it's just not true. And Troy Apke, was he great in this game? No, and Rivera said that. He said, look, Troy Apke wasn't great in this game, but he wasn't as bad as everybody thinks he was. I tend to agree with that. Now, there are some plays, and Ron made it apparently abundantly clear. There are some plays in there that are cringeworthy, okay? And I showed those on film. All right, there are some plays where you go, Troy, what are you doing, guy? But he's learning, and I can't stress this enough. And I know there are a number of you who do not care, don't want to hear it. You want somebody else in there. And let me just address this. The Cameron Curl. Put Cameron Curl in. Cameron Curl is not a free safety, guys. You have to understand the difference between a strong and a free. You'd like both of your safeties to have the capability to rock and roll, meaning play strong or free safety. Play 30 yards off the line of scrimmage or play 7 yards off the line of scrimmage. You'd like them to be able to do both. Cameron Curl can't do both. Landon Collins can't do both, okay? Cameron Curl, if you've watched Cameron Curl, and I've shown you this on film as well, Cameron Curl is lining up as a linebacker. He's in the box. Okay, that's where he's best. And he's playing his ass off, by the way, I might add. He's not a guy that you can line up as a single high free safety. He's not a guy that you want as your last line of defense. He doesn't have the speed necessary to do that. If he makes a mistake, it's 6. If Troy Apke makes a mistake, at least he's going to catch the guy and we got a chance to salvage the drive and force a field goal potentially, or maybe even force a turnover. So there's a stark contrast between what these guys bring to the table and their skill set. Cameron Curl is best suited in the box. That's where he's making his bones right now. He's creating a name for himself on this roster in the box. That's where he belongs. Troy Apke is a free safety. through and through. Okay, he's just got to learn. Okay, so I needed to express that, and Ron Rivera felt the need to go out of his way to say that as well. He also said there's no finite number of snaps to determine if a guy is good or not. You know, we keep getting these questions. Well, how do you know if Apke's any good? How do you know if Dwayne's any good? How do you know if Jaron Christian's any good? You know, all the guys that, you know, anxious fans want to bench. You know, they're essentially asking, well, how do you know when is when? You know, friends know when to say when. How do you as a coach know when to say when? And as I've told you many a times, you just know. You know when you see it. And as a coach, it's a lot easier than just the eyeball test. You're at practice every day. You're watching the film. So you know, if you told Troy Apke already, hey, don't do this, he goes out, he does it again. You tell him again, hey, Troy, don't do this. He goes out, he does it again. Then he just doesn't get it. So you understand it. Again, coaches love guys who don't duplicate mistakes. One of the best compliments, and I've told you this already, is that someone says, hey, he doesn't make the same mistake twice. Because I'm a staunch believer in life, you're going to make mistakes. Life is all about learning from your mistakes and not repeating them. You know, what do you take out of some of these life lessons that you get? Same thing playing sports. You make a mistake. I learn better. I can't speak for anybody out there. I learn better in particular when I make a mistake. Because the sting of making that mistake and having to be corrected is enough to make me remember the next time I go to make that mistake, I remember how I felt when I was reprimanded for making the mistake, and so I don't forget. That's how I remember guys' names and things of that nature. If I forget a guy's name while I'm on the show and I got to look it up, well, I'm going to remember the next time I forget that guy's name. Damn, I had to look his name up on the show. That's how I learned Logan Thomas's name. Remember, I could never remember his name. And then I made enough mistakes. I couldn't ever remember his name. I finally looked him up and I said, you know what? I'm not going to forget his name anymore. And now I got it. So Troy Apke is a guy that I think is going to continue to get better as he gets more reps. Same thing with Dwayne Haskins. Same thing with Jaron Christian. I don't think Jaron Christian's that bad. And he faced a hell of a pass rusher on Sunday. And he didn't get his ass whooped. Like, I was expecting it to be carnage. I was like, man, he's probably going to give up 2 sacks this week. You know, and he only got beat, you know, once or twice. And Dwayne didn't get sacked either time. So I thought Jaron Christian was solid, man. I think this line is going to be fine. As long as we can stay relatively healthy, I think we'll be just fine. Ron also says, going to keep cycling guys in and out to see who is what. So you can't find out how good a guy is unless you play him. So he said, and we kind of saw that on Sunday in week 2. We saw Cam Sims get, you know, and now some of this was out of necessity due to injury because Steven Sims went down and they had to put somebody in the game and they put Antonio Gandy Golden in. The Gandy man. They gave him some run. He got his first NFL catch. But then, you know, there was a time where Sims was back, but Terry McLaurin needed a blow and they put Gandy Golden and Cam Sims in the game. So they're starting to cycle some of these guys in and give them some reps. And Ron said, look, if you want reps on offense or defense, special teams is the way to do it. You know, you go out and ball on special teams, we'll take notice. And I think that's why they threw Cam Sims a bone. He made a couple of big tackles on special teams in week 2. And they said, you know what? Hey, get Cam a couple reps. You know, so we'll see. You know, they're giving guys an opportunity. I don't think they're going to go crazy with this, giving guys an opportunity right now while we're still playing meaningful ball. But if things take a turn for the worse and we look up and we're 10 weeks in and we're 2-7, I could see them starting to give guys some looks, pulling up guys from the practice squad and things of that nature. And you start hearing a lot of names that you never heard of and guys getting some run. But I think right now they're going to try to minimize the amount of guys that are funny lookings and putting them in the game. You don't want to put a bunch of funny lookings in when you got a game at stake. So I think right now, like, you know, they talked about Bryce Love, and let's just switch gears to Scott Turner because he was the one that fielded the Bryce Love question. And he said, look, no Bryce Love for now, essentially. He didn't say those exact words, but he's like, the company line, Bryce is doing a great job in practice. He's giving us some great looks. That's translation for, hey, Bryce ain't seeing the field right now, no time soon. We're good with our backs. We like our guys. Anytime you hear a coach say, hey, he's giving us some great looks in practice, on the practice squad, on the scout team, that's translation for, hey, we good. We appreciate him. And if we need him, we'll tap into what he brings to the table. But, hey, we good there. When you hear a coach talk about this guy's giving us great looks at practice, they have no intentions of putting him in the game anytime soon. So, but he did say, hey, I expect him to see the field at some point this season. Take it for what it's worth. That's not the first time we've heard that, and that's not the first person we've heard say that. So I'm going to take him at face value that we'll see Bryce Love at some point this season, just not now. And not, especially not now that they're trying to establish Antonio Gibson. They're trying to get more touches for J.D. McKissick. And they love Peyton Barber in the role that they've carved out for him as a short yardage back. You saw him get in on a third down early in the ball game and pick it up. So might have even been a fourth down. I think it was actually a fourth down play where Peyton Barber came in and got the first down. So I can't foresee him getting any run at any point right now. Turner also, he struck me as a guy, and I see your super chats. I'm going to start reading those before they go away. Turner struck me as a guy that felt really confident in the plays that he's calling right now. They asked him a number of different questions about how to do this and how to get Dwayne off to this kind of start. And you don't want to throw anybody on the bus. He's a first-time coordinator, so he can't talk out of line, However, I'm reading between the lines, and I could hear it in his voice. I could see it in his demeanor like, hey, I'm calling some good shit over here, man. I know the results aren't what we would like them to be, but I'm calling some really good, and he is. He really is calling some fantastic plays. And, there are only a few here and there that I'm like, I'm not really a big fan of that. There was a run in this week's past game that wasn't the biggest fan of. We needed 1 yard, and they got guys pulling from the backside of the play and, just too much moving parts. Just have everybody fire off the ball, hand it off, and run straight. Like, we're doing too much. We're getting too cute. And so, that was one play I didn't like. But, there aren't many plays. Some of the red zone, I think, right now my biggest frustration with Scott Turner is in the red zone. I don't think our play calling is imaginative enough in the red zone. I don't think that we do a good enough job of creating matchups that will lead to guys getting open. You're asking too many guys to just win one-on-one matchups, and it's just condensed down there. I think they need to do a better job of scheming it up. He does a great job in between the 20s of scheming up guys open. I just think he needs to do a better job in the red zone. I didn't love those red zone calls that I saw in week number 2. I wasn't the biggest fan of those plays. They didn't seem like winners to me. Yeah, so for whatever it's worth. And Dwayne talked about, and this to me was the money quote of anybody that spoke today. It was out of the mouth of quarterback Dwayne Haskins, who said, I got to trust what offensive coordinator Scott Turner calls. I got to trust my offensive line to protect, and I got to trust my wide receivers to get open. Enough said. I mean, you could see it. I told you he's panicking back there. He's not trusting the process. He's not trusting the play call, because there are times, and I've stated this in the film, there are times where Scott Turner dials up a play to get the football to the running back out of the backfield, and Dwayne just comes, for whatever reason, comes off of that first read and goes to something else. And usually that something else is tight end Logan Thomas. And he's got to just trust the call. If it doesn't work, Rivera said this from the jump. Just do what we ask you to do. Do it our way. If it doesn't work, it's on us. If you do it your way, if you choose to do what you want to do and you do it your way and it doesn't work, then it's on you. Now we got a problem with you. Do it our way. And so Dwayne just needs to trust what Scott Turner's calling, because like I said, he's calling some damn good plays. Now, how you read these plays out, Who's the first read? Who's the second read? If they're playing this, then this guy becomes the first read. If they're playing that, this guy now becomes the first read. I understand all of that. There's a lot of different nuance to all of these plays. I understand that. But sometimes you can strip all of that down to the bare minimum and say, hey, look, man, where's my guy at? Where's Terry on this play? Do I like his matchup? Because this is man-to-man. We got man here. Because we do a lot of motion, and the motion tells you whether you got man or zone. So you can tell usually right away, all right, what are we up against? We got man or zone coverage. Okay, we sent Steven Sims in motion again. We got man coverage. Where's Terry? Oh, I got one-on-one. All right, I'm going to Terry on this play. Like, that's not hard. Let's not. Oh, they're running a clear out for J.D. McKissick to isolate him one-on-one with the linebacker. Well, throw J.D. McKissick the football. So I think Dwayne understands that, trusts his O-line to protect. I think there is a lack of trust. I talked about that. I think a lot of you saw that. I told you he's antsy back there. Why is he antsy? You get hit enough. You fumble the ball twice in respective weeks, one in each week. You start to think, do I have enough time to get rid of this football? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Maybe I need to speed my process up just to make sure. And he says, I got to trust my receivers to get open. You know, sometimes guys may get jammed up at the line of scrimmage or, they may be working. And I just need to give them time to win. I don't need to come off my read so quickly. I'm not telling you to get fixated on your first read and then try to come off your first read late and end up getting sacked. That's not what I'm telling you to do. But, it depends on who you're working. If it's Logan Thomas and he's struggling with this linebacker off the line of scrimmage, man, move on from his ass. If it's Terry McLaurin and he's over there fighting, hand fighting with a corner, stay there a little bit longer because Terry, more likely than not, is going to separate eventually. Give him a chance. So, you just got to know who you're working with. You just got to know who you're trying to get the football to. So, in any event, I thought there was some good dialogue from all three men today, but I thought Dwayne was very introspective, and I like that. I like the fact that he's acknowledging. That was the thing that used to drive me nuts with Robert Griffin III, is that he would go out, stink it up on Sunday, and, it's one thing in the moment not to understand that you were funky. It's another thing to go sit down, watch the film, come back on Wednesday, and still tell me that I wasn't trash this past week. I got a problem with that. In the moment, you may not, and Dwayne, he didn't play his best brand of football on Sunday. And you kind of got a sense of that on Sunday during his presser, even though you could barely hear it. Today, he was a lot more introspective, like, yeah, I got to do a better job of giving guys an opportunity, trusting my line, and I got to trust the play call, So I like hearing that from Dwayne. Again, the maturation that this guy is showing is awesome. Just need to start seeing him put all of this stuff in motion, and it's going to take time, But I just want to start seeing piece by piece, brick by brick. We want to build this thing up to where we feel like, all right, Dwayne can run on his own. We don't need to babysit him anymore. He can do whatever it is he needs to do. He's got the keys to the car, and we know he's going to drive, and he's going to take us where we need to go. So we're still building him up there. So still need a parent in the car with Dwayne, because right now he's driving, but he's only got his learner's permit. Still, hey, Dwayne, check your rear view mirror. Make sure you got your seatbelt on. All right. Make sure that you got all your blind spots. You're checking your blind spots when you go to switch lanes. You still got to remind Dwayne of all of these things because he's a newbie in that driver's seat. Hey, not so fast. Don't have a lead foot on the gas pedal. Relax. And we're seeing that. Get a little happy feet over there. Hey, ease off of that. You don't have to slam on the brakes. I like my neck. I don't need it to jerk. Relax. Be calm. All right. So eventually, you won't need that parent or that guardian or that other person with a driver's license in the car next to Dwayne. Eventually, he's going to be able to drive that whip by himself, get on the interstate and everything. But right now, he needs somebody in the car with him. And that's fine. We're going to get to a point where he can drive by himself. Anyhow, let's get to our first look at the Cleveland Browns. But before that, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go social media maneuvers. And we're going to take some of these comments because I don't want them to go away. Got a couple super chats. I'm going to knock those out. I don't have a bunch of them, so I'll knock these out quickly, and then we'll get back to first look at the Cleveland Browns. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Tony P56, who writes, we need help now. Sign free agents. What positions? No, Tony, that's not the move. That's the move of the old administration. We don't do those things around here anymore. You know why we have all this salary cap space? Not to waste it. And again, if they spend it now, it would come off the books at the end of the season. I'm aware of that. But we have the cap space we have not to squander it on someone that's going to help us win a game or two and still have us end up being 7-9 this season and missing the postseason. That's not what we're looking to do. We're looking to build. Again, a lot of you guys have short-term goals, all right? And that's fine. Short-term goals are great. I like to have short-term goals as well, as long as they're helping me reach my long-term goal. You know, you set your short-term goals and you knock those down one by one, and they should be leading up to your long-term goal. By signing a free agent, you're not helping in the long term. You're just trying to hit short-term goals, and they're not connected. They need to be connected. Short-term and long-term need to be connected. You go out and sign Earl Thomas, and let me say this. There's a reason Earl Thomas is sitting at home right now. That's number one. Number two, Earl Thomas doesn't want to play for the Washington Redskins. Washington football team. Now, let me say this. Nobody's come calling, and because of that, maybe he's a little bit more desperate than he would have been. But Earl's made some good money throughout his career, and so I don't know what he's done with it now. That's another discussion for another day. But I can tell you this. It's the reason why he's sitting at home right now. We don't need Earl Thomas. We don't need anybody that's out there. Anybody that's out there available right now is out there available for a reason. What we need to do is figure out what we have. Okay? That's what we need to find out. And maybe the guys that we have aren't any good, and they're not good enough, and they're not going to ride with us in the future. Maybe that is the case. But that's what you need to find out now, so that if they aren't guys that are going to roll with us next year or the year after, you can figure that out now, move on from them, start spending your free agent dollars on guys that can come in and help, and also start to be able to focus on where you need to spend this draft capital that you have. So there's a lot of things that go into a rebuild, which is what we're in. A lot of you don't like the R word. We're rebuilding over here, man. All right? It's a rebuild. No one wants to call it that because it sounds so arduous and it sounds like a dirty word. We rebuilding, man. We are rebuilding this thing from the ground up. And we're trying to find foundation blocks right now. Who are the guys that are going to be the foundation? Thank you for the super chat, Tony P56. Got a super chat here from Trevor Patch. Thank you for the super chat, Trevor Patch. Greatly appreciate you, as always. Trevor writes, if you believe in Ron, be patient. We need to see what we have. Exactly. I would like to rotate in other skill positions. AGG, Isaiah, Marcus, Bryce, etc. We are a 6-win team, hopefully all in the division. If we win 6 games and they're all in the division, then we're going to win more than that because we're going to beat at least 2 or 3 teams outside of the division. Okay? We're very capable of beating Detroit. We're very capable of beating, Cleveland this week. We're very capable of beating Cincinnati. We're very capable of beating Carolina. These are all teams on the schedule. So these are games that are very winnable, within reach. And we're not going to win all 6 division games. Let's be honest with ourselves. If we can, I'm happy with a split. That was my goal at the beginning of the season. That's how I got us to 6 wins. I split with everybody in the division, won a game apiece, and then I took 3 games outside the division and I kept it pushing. So if we could go 4-2, that would be awesome. I think if we go 4-2 in the division, that probably means we're going to win 7 or 8 games. We go 3-3 in the division, then you're more likely 6-10, 7-9. The division is, because our division isn't very good, so that's where you need to rack up the bulk of your wins. If you can sweep the Giants, that'd be awesome. Highly unlikely though. I don't know if we're good enough to do that or not, but it'd be nice to sweep the Giants. They're due for one. They got us last year. It'd be nice to get some get back. We got the Eagles once already. It'd be nice to sweep those bastards, but we'll have to wait until the end of the season to see how that goes. And really, the Cowboys are the ones we want the most. I want at least one from them. I'd like to get both of them, but we got them on Thanksgiving. That usually does not end well for us. I just want one. Honestly, I don't care where it comes, home, away. I could give two damns about where it comes from. I just want one. All right? Get the first one, preferably, and then you're playing with house money. Let's go get the second one. So, anyway, I'm with you. Patience is the key. It's virtuous. Patience is very virtuous, okay? And I've got all the patience in the world, even though on Sundays I want to win, just like everybody else, and I get pissed off when I see mistakes and understand that this game was there for the taking. It's part of the growing pains. It's part of the lumps that we're going to have to take this season. I came into the season knowing fully well that this was a 6-7 win team. Knew that from the jump. So I'm not going to allow myself to fall into the trap of, hey, why not 10 wins now that we're playing football all of a sudden? No, that's not how this goes. But as far as the receivers are concerned and the guys in the skill positions, it's not as easy as just rotating guys in. You're still trying to win. And yeah, you want to see what those guys can do, but you know what else you want to do? You want to see how good Terry can be. You want to see how good Steven Sims can be. You don't want to take reps away from them because you still want to know, is Terry a legitimate one? Is this guy capable of 1,300 yards, 87 catches, and 12 touchdowns? You need to know this. The only way you're going to find out is if he gets enough reps to show you. Steven Sims, is he a third option? Or could he be a legitimate number 2 option? We need to find this out. Is he good for 600 yards? Or can he get you 900 yards? There's a big difference between the two. So you need answers to this. The only way to get those answers are for these guys to play. Now, I don't have a problem taking Dontrell Inman out. That's the guy that I'm looking at and I'm saying, if you want AGG or Cam Sims or, Isaiah Wright or one of these guys to get some reps, Dontrell Inman is the guy that's only here because of the injury to Kelvin Harmon. And I'd be so much more optimistic if Kelvin Harmon were healthy. I really would. I think this would be a totally different offense. But that's nor here nor there. I'm with you, Trevor Patch. If you believe in Ron's plan, then you got to be patient. That's the only way to approach this situation. Thank you for the super chat, Trevor Patch. Got another super chat from my man Barrett Downing. As always, I appreciate you, BD. Thank you for the super chat. Barrett Downing writes, I get it. It's a new playbook. But do you think we are doing what Haskins does well rather than give him the whole playbook? Let's spoon feed him so he can stop the happy feet. That was something that Scott Turner answered at his presser. He said, yeah, one of the questions was posed. I want to say it was, I can't remember which beat reporter it was that posed the question, but he essentially said, yeah, we talked to Ron earlier in the week on Monday, and Ron essentially said, hey, we're putting a lot on Dwayne's plate, maybe even a little too much, but we feel like he can handle it. But if we feel like we need to scale back a bit, then maybe that's something we'll consider. And they pretty much said, hey, Ron said that earlier in the week. Do you think you're putting too much on Dwayne's plate? And do you think you need to scale it back a bit so that he becomes more comfortable? And he said, there's a fine line you walk there between, being aggressive, putting a lot on his plate, and getting him out there and allowing him to expand his knowledge and his abilities. But, in the same breath, you don't want this guy out there bogged down and being weighed down by all the different things he needs to be thinking pre-snap and what this guy is responsible for and how do I go about this if they're playing this coverage versus playing this coverage. And, it can become cumbersome after a while. But he said also, in the same breath, you don't want to be too vanilla. You don't want to be too basic, because then it becomes easy for the defense to key in on what you're doing and take it away, and it makes it harder for the offense to be successful. So there's a fine line that you walk, and I like I said, I personally don't think they're putting too much on Dwayne Haskins in terms of what I'm seeing from a play calling standpoint. I think he just needs to execute better. And again, that's going to come with time, because I told you the statement that Dwayne said: I need to trust the offensive coordinator Scott Turner's play calls. I need to trust that the offensive line is going to protect. I need to trust that the receivers are going to get open. That's telling you a young man that right now doesn't have a lot of trust in everything going on around him. The play calls that are coming into the huddle, he's not sure if I can stay on his first read long enough to allow it to be successful, so I'm just going to move on. He's not sure if the offensive line is going to allow him to stay on that first read long enough so that if it's not successful, hey, I probably need to get to my second read. But you know what? If I stay on this first read a little bit longer, I'm going to end up getting sacked trying to get to my second and third read. So, you know what? I got to come off of that first read a little bit quicker than I want to, so I can get to the second read and then the third read, so I can get rid of this football so I don't get sacked and fumble. So he's saying, I got to trust the offensive line. And there are plenty of times on film where he's got time. And then he said, I got to trust the receivers to get open. And that's another thing. Right now, I think the only guy he trusts to get open is Terry. And the only other guy that he's really comfortable throwing the football to is Logan Thomas. And I think he understands that other guys are winning. And for me, and I said this during my film breakdown, Terry McLaurin's got to get at least, I said 15. 15 might be too many targets a game. But me personally, with the way our weapons are set up, 15 targets a game for Terry McLaurin. No worse than 10. If he doesn't have at least 10 targets in any given game, something went tragically wrong. Somebody's not doing their job, whether it's Scott Turner. And Scott said, we're getting Terry the ball. He's 8th in receiving right now in the league. And that's cool. I like hearing that. But guess what? I don't give a ham slam sandwich about that. And he was like, hey, Terry's getting his looks. I think he said he was 8th in the league in targets. That might have been what he said. He was 8th in the league in something. But he said, Terry's not always going to be the first read on the play. The defense dictates that. I'm aware of that. But guess what? Just like, when you want to get a guy the ball in the NBA, and I know it's not quite the same, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but you want to get a guy the ball in the NBA, you get the guy the ball. In the NFL, you want to get a guy the ball, you find a way to get, and the defense may say, hey, he's not getting the ball, we're going to take him away. Well, then that should be opening up stuff for other guys. I haven't watched a game yet where a team said, Terry McLaurin is not getting the rock, we're going to double team him. I haven't seen it yet. We've been in it, and it helps that, it doesn't help, I should say, that we've played two teams that are really confident in their number one corner, and Patrick Peterson and Darius Slay. Those teams feel like, hey, we got a corner that we feel like, hey, they should be able to take Terry away by themselves. They don't need help. And the Browns probably feel that way about Denzel Ward. So we might get another corner that they like, hey, we good. We got a guy that we feel like can be in his hip pocket. And those boys went to school together. So they know each other. They had battles at practice. So they probably feel even more confident. Hey, you should be able to get this dude because you know him. And Dwayne talked about that. Hey, I know Denzel Ward. I know how he likes to play. I went to school with him. I practice against him. I know his tendencies. I know what he likes to do. Yeah, I'm going to try to take advantage of that. And it goes both ways. Denzel Ward's like, I know Dwayne. I know his mannerisms. I know how he looks when he's about to throw the football. I know how his mannerisms are when he's looking to take a deep shot. Like, he knows some of those things too. It goes both ways. But at the end of the day, if the other team isn't making a concerted effort to take Terry away, and the Cardinals didn't, that's why he got all those catches, I'm going to Terry McLaurin. It's not hard. Make them take him away. That's how I feel. Anyway, thank you for that super chat, Barrett Downing. I think they're going to continue to give him a good portion of the playbook, but I do think they're going to dial it back a little bit, not a ton. And I wouldn't dial it back too much if I were them either. Let's see. Got another comment here. This one is from Will Diggs. Thank you for the super chat, Will Diggs. Greatly appreciate you. Will Diggs writes, we should take a look at Cordy Glenn. For what? Why would we need to take a look at Cordy Glenn? He's a tackle. We got tackles. We got 5 tackles on the roster. They really like David Sharp. That's the guy they traded for at the end of training camp from the Las Vegas Raiders. What do we need a tackle for? What do we need Cordy Glenn for? Both of our tackles are healthy right now. Obviously, Morgan Moses dealing with something with his hip, but he's limited. He's going to play. I told you, Morgan Moses is a warrior. You guys talk a lot of trash about Morgan Moses, but he doesn't miss any games, and he's a quality right tackle. All right. Jaron Christian, say what you want. He's been solid. He hasn't been great, but he's been solid. We don't know what Sadiq Charles is right now. We don't know what David Sharp is. I already told you I think I know what David Sharp is. I think David Sharp is a solid backup tackle in this league. I don't think he's a starter. But then again, we'll see. I've been wrong before. And don't forget that Cornelius Lucas is still on the roster now. Obviously, they told you how they feel about Cornelius Lucas by the way that they've managed this roster. Because they don't trade for the tackle David Sharp if they had supreme confidence in Cornelius Lucas's ability to step in a pinch. But they're telling you, we don't believe in Cornelius Lucas. And the only reason he's still on the roster is because injuries do happen, and we don't want to expose him to waivers because tackle is one of those positions that teams are always looking for depth at. And I always told you, people are always eyeballing your stuff. You may be thinking, oh, we can sneak him onto the practice squad. No, the hell you can't. Somebody's always watching, eyeballing, waiting, chomping at the bit to get some of your stuff. So you go ahead and cut it loose and think, oh, yeah, it'll clear waivers. He'll clear waivers. And boom, he's gone. We just got rid of Hale Henches. You thinking, don't nobody want Hale Henches, man. That's our guy. He'll clear waivers. He'll be back in Washington before you know it. Hale Henches is in Indianapolis, man. Okay? Like, somebody's always looking at your stuff. You think that your stuff is safe, which is why I love this new rule that you can protect, 4 players each week on your practice squad. Because somebody's always looking at your stuff. And all it takes is 1 or 2 injuries, and they like, hey, you want to be a member of the, fill in the blank organization? Because right now you're not on the active roster. We'd love to give you a spot on our 53. And just like that, that guy's gone. So I digress. We don't need Cordy Glenn. Thank you for the super chat, Will Diggs. Got another one here from Door Gunner. Thank you for the super chat, Door Gunner. Greatly appreciate you. Door Gunner writes, I'm fine with the growing pains. I expected them. I will start to worry if there isn't obvious progression in the offense by the bye week. I think that is a very good spot for assessment. I think that's a good location to be able to take a step back, take a deep breath and say, all right, where have we come from and where are we at now? And if they're the same place or if it's a regression and you're going backwards, yeah, that would be a cause for concern. I agree with that, because our bye week is pretty much in the middle of the season. It's not like last year where it was relatively early. It's pretty much in the middle of the season. So you're going to get a chance to play 8-9 games. Then you get that bye week and you get to take a step back and say, all right, what have we done? How have we progressed? Does this offense look vastly different from the way that it did in, say, week 3 versus now we're in week 9? How are we trending? Are we trending upward? Are we trending downward? Are we flatlining? What are we doing? I think that's a really good a time to take that all into consideration. But, you could see a massive uptick after the bye week. Who's to say? You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, but I think that'll be a good time to kind of assess where we are in the process of getting to where we ultimately want to be. Thank you for that super chat, Door Gunner. I think that's the last one that we have, and it is. So what I will do is we will transition to our first look. I think I just got another super chat. So what we can do, let me go ahead and knock this one out real quick. Joselle Charles, you go to Patreon. The link is down in the description of this video, all my videos. Click that link and just follow the instructions, brother. And you can get all the film breakdown that you need. Let's go. And Door Gunner says, highlight last week was Moses tossing Simmons. I haven't seen that yet. Maybe I might have missed that one. I didn't see that play in particular. I'll go back and watch it because you brought that up the other night too, and I didn't recall seeing that. I did see Cameron Curl toss Larry Fitzgerald like a piece of trash onto the canvas. I did see that. But I saw a couple of guys on our defensive line ragdolling a couple of Cardinals offensive linemen, but I didn't see Moses tossing Simmons. So I'm gonna go back and look for that. Was it a run play or a pass play, in particular? Was it first quarter, second quarter? Kind of narrow that down for me so I can go and find it and check it out because I didn't see it. But in any event, I definitely want to see it. Anyhow, let's get to our first look at the Cleveland Browns. This is a scary team, man. They're 1-1 on the season. They got out of the blocks really slow. Obviously, they played one of the best teams, not just in their division, not just in their conference, but in the league, in the Baltimore Ravens. And they got run. It's 38-6. It was never really close. They made mistakes similar to what we did in week 2. They did it in week 1. They made a bunch of mistakes early in that ball game that cost them. The Ravens ran up the score, and by halftime, I think it was like 24-0. They were really reeling. No, it wasn't nothing because they scored a touchdown early in the ball game. I want to say David Njoku caught a touchdown pass early in that ball game. I think halftime is like 24-6. But it got out of control quickly in the second half, and they didn't stand a chance in that ball game. But they rebounded in week 2 versus Cincinnati, played some good ball. And the one thing that has been constant with them is their run game. Their run game has been superb. Since really getting Nick Chubb, he's been outstanding. And Chubb now with the Kareem Hunt is one of the best backfields in all of football. And their offensive line is underrated. No one really talks about their offensive line and how well they run block, but they open up holes for these guys and they do the rest. All they need is a little bit of daylight and they're going to run guys over. Chubb has a fantastic stiff arm. They're physical. They get yards after contact. They can both catch it out of the backfield. They're dangerous. They're flat out dangerous. And Rivera talked about, his biggest concern was the Browns' ability to get vertical and their receivers can run. I'm not worried about their damn receivers. Odell Beckham is the only guy that I'm concerned about. Juice is cool because he'll break a dude off something, but that's underneath. Like he was talking about. Now they got some guys can run. Like Ratley can run. Like they got some dudes that can run. Like I'm not trying to shit on their receivers, but I'm not afraid of their wide receivers. Not a single one of them. Odell is a beast when he's right, and he seems like he's right now. He's problematic. And play action fake hasn't been kind to us this season because guys are consistently getting behind our defense. So I can see Odell running 5 yards beyond the defense and Troy Apke or Ronald Darby or somebody, chasing him behind on a play, trying to catch up as the ball is arriving and them swiping at it and it's a 52-yard gain. I can see that happening. But I'm more concerned with the run game, personally. Those two guys back there, and we really haven't had a true test in the run game. The first 2 opponents on the season, those weren't power run teams. Those were teams that are more finesse, want to spread you out, gun runs. We look like those teams. A lot of gun runs, not a lot of runs from under center, a lot of trickeration, a lot of moving parts. No, the Browns are going to hike the football, and they're going to come at you. And they're going to beat you up. They're going to stretch you. They're gonna run power, but they're also gonna be able to run that zone run blocking scheme, and they're gonna go bootleg off of it. And Baker's gonna come out the back door. And if Montez Sweat isn't more disciplined, he's gonna have time to set up shop and set his feet and rip it like he did against Cincinnati for the touchdown to Odell Beckham. or I think he got down to the 1. He might have scored on that play. Either way, we have to stop the run. And this is going to be our best test to date at stopping the run, because we weren't good at stopping the run last year. For as much as we tout this defensive line and how talented the Bama wall is, and we got Montez Sweat and Kerrigan, we didn't stop the run well. Now we got a different animal on that defensive line now in Chase Young, and he's not just a pass rusher. And I showed you that on the film. He's not just a pass rusher. This guy plays the run. Okay, so we got some stuff on that defensive line now, and I like the linebackers. I like what the boys are behind the defensive line are doing. I like what these backers are doing, man. So I'm anxious to see now when the team opposite of them lines up and says, "Hey, we coming out in two tights," because you didn't get a lot of that against the Arizona Cardinals. You got a lot of that against the Philadelphia Eagles, but even their two tight situations was, "Hey, we trying to throw the ball. We ain't trying to run it for real." No, these boys are going to come out in too tight and say, "Hey, stop us. What y'all got?" Because we got 8 on this one. I want to see what we do against the run. I just hope it's not a shit show. I just hope they don't come in here, or we don't go over there and we look up and, man, they got us for 212 on the ground and 2 scores. That would be brutal, okay? So I'm hoping somehow, some way, we slow them down. I don't think we're going to stop them on the ground, but I just want to slow them down. And if we could do that, because those boys last week against Cincinnati, they totaled 220 yards, I think, between the two of them on the ground, if I'm not mistaken. I think Chubb ended up with like a buck 26 or a buck 36, and I think Hunt ended up with another 86 or 89 on like 12 carries. Like, those boys are dynamic, man. If they get us like that, we're in trouble. We're not going to win the football game. That's, to me, the key right now. We'll get to the particulars of how to stop their offense and, what we need to do from an offensive standpoint against their defense. We'll get into those particulars going behind enemy lines tomorrow. But I tell you what, that's a good football team over there. I told you before the season started, I thought the Browns were going to be much improved. I like Kevin Stefanski for that football team. It's going to be pretty damn interesting to see, because I think we match up well with them. I do. But if we can't stop the run, I don't give a damn about what those matchups look like, what they feel like. If we can't stop the run, we're going to be in trouble, because that's what everything that they do is predicated off of their ability to run the football effectively. They run it effectively. Everything else is set up off of that. So, I digress. Got no more super chats, so we are going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys chopping it up with me tonight. It's been a long week, and we're getting close towards that Thursday night game, and then before you know it, it'll be Friday, and then it'll be Saturday, and then it'll be Sunday. And I can't wait to see the boys on the field again, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing the fellas get back on the field and maybe get that nasty taste out of our mouth. Because last week wasn't our best performance. We didn't put our best foot forward last week. I think we could do a better job of that in week number 3. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. We're going to follow the injury reports very closely, because we got 7 guys right now that are either not practicing or limited in practice. Thursday is always the big day for me. Wednesday is install day. That's a massive day in terms of just getting the psychological part of practice down. You're installing everything for that week's game plan. But when Thursday for me is the day. If you don't practice Thursday, hard for me to see you playing, because I need to see you practice Thursday. Then I need to see you practice Friday, because I need to see how you respond to practicing Thursday by seeing what you're able to do on Friday. And remember last week, we had Kendall Fuller and Thomas Davis both practice full on Wednesday and Thursday, and then they weren't able to go Friday. They were both limited on Friday, and neither one of them played on Sunday. So, again, you want to see these guys practice, and then you want to see how they recover from practicing. I need to see Steven Sims on that football field tomorrow, even if it's only in a limited capacity. he doesn't practice tomorrow, I'll tell you right now, he probably won't be playing this week. So, in any event, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. I thank you guys for joining me. Remember, if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Go ahead and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing here on the Louie T Network. And also hit that like button before you go. I'm going to go ahead and glide to the side, allow you to continue to enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll reconvene at a later date and time. But until then, I'm your man, Louie T. This has been Washington Football Nightly. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.